Today we're talking to Andy Crestodina. If you haven't seen this guy speak before, you're really missing out. This guy is great. Today we're talking about video strategies. We're talking about small improvements to your site that make huge gains, as well as what could actually happen to you if you're a lazy-ass marketer.
Today, we're talking with Andy Crestodina, and he is a speaker at various events in the content and marketing world. For those in the audience who don't know Andy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yep, I'm the co-founder of a web development company here in Chicago called Horbet Media. This is year 18. So I've done about that much in search and analytics. So 18 years of search and analytics work. For the last 12 years, I've been doing content strategy and blogging, influencer marketing stuff, social media, email. So I'm a guy who, a lot of people know me as that guy who wrote that book that they use in colleges. I wrote like a textbook on and I speak at like 100, I give 100 presentations a year, and I make videos, and I'm a teacher, and I love to explain the fun stuff. So I do a lot of these too, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome.
When do you sleep, Andy? That's my first question. when do you sleep?
The sleep is a problem because of my 1-year-old. I'm like a mid-40s dude with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and that's the problem for sleep. So
yeah, I definitely understand your pain. I'm a mid-40s dude with 2 twin 6-year-olds. So.
Twins.
Yeah.
Oh. Imagine. Yikes.
Yeah. I've just got the 1 5-year-old, but he's enough. You can take all your kids and combine them together, and that's my son. So
yeah. So I can promise you this, Andy, it gets better. That's all I have to say. Is it gets better when especially if they don't sleep a lot when they're young. So.
Don't believe him, Andy. Don't believe him. That's my opinion. Yeah. Anyway, well, thank you for talking with us today, Andy. You talked about video being one of those things that you do, and I, recently we came across an article actually that you posted on LinkedIn about the different types of marketing videos. So I wanted to go there for a second because, we totally agree. And, a lot of the time we see people make big mistakes when it comes to marketing videos, and they'll take one video and they'll use the same video across different platforms. They don't kind of create any unique videos and, that kind of thing. So we were just wondering what you see as some of the most common errors marketers are making when it comes to video.
Well, the main thing is to be strategic and goal focused and use the thing that meets your goals and hits the results. So there are definitely hard lines drawn between the types of marketing videos. And I think it's easy to think of it this way. There are 3 completely different types of videos in marketing. I'll start with the money one first. Any effort that you do at the bottom of your funnel or the sales pages, work done on the about page type content, right? People who are visiting those pages are thinking about working with you, so it makes sense to prioritize that type of content. Those are the high production value videos. Those are the videos that tell your story. Those are the videos that showcase your people, and therefore they're concise, but they're basically the sales videos, and it's worth it to spend more money on them, put them on the product, service, about page and home page, and to use a pro player, use a good player. This is not a YouTube video. This is a video where you want to use a player that's going to have it doesn't have the YouTube bug, so they're not going to sneak off over to YouTube where there's, where wheels on the bus go round and round. That's what my YouTube looks like these days. But
I know that feeling too.
But use a player that you can customize the look of, that it's going to embed nicely. Work hard on the custom thumbnail for that. That should be true of all of them pretty much. So anyway, yeah, that's basically the sales video, the conversion video. It tells a story, builds trust. The content marketing videos, these are the ones that I make the most often. They teach. And for these, perfectly fine to use YouTube because you're trying to grow an audience with them. And it's not a bad thing to show the number of views. And if they go to YouTube, now they're within your channel, and that's fine. This person was just an information intent visitor anyway. So 2 kinds of visitors on websites. Information intent visitors, they visit articles, they watch helpful videos, they want information. Commercial intent visitors, totally different experience, totally different web page. These are the people that actually have used a query that indicates they might buy from you, or they're visiting pages that are all about building trust and getting the sale. The third type of video is basically just a traffic driving video that's not even on your website. They're also super powerful. It's the video that appears native inside the social stream. So I make these using LinkedIn. I actually do go one step farther. A lot of people like take out their phone and they make cheesy little ones, which can be effective, I'm sure. But in my experience, the key to the social media video and the ones that are truly thumb stoppers, get that person to stop scrolling through their stream, are the ones when you add a caption. Because in social, a lot of people don't have the sound on. And success would be when they slow down enough and turn on the sound and listen. And that video is really just a 1 minute pitch for usually an article. And so it's very concise. It teases the content. It gives an indication of the value. It's got a little call to action. And it's just your face. You're making really, when social used to be just like post your stuff, now the most effective ways to drive traffic from social are to make a tiny 1 minute commercial of you promoting your stuff. And I've gotten huge amount, like great results from those too. So yeah, social videos, content marketing videos, and conversion videos. They live on social media or in your articles embedded from YouTube, or on your web pages embedded from like a Vidler or Vimeo.
So, I mean, we all see people kind of fudging this and making some mistakes, but you know, what are they missing out on? I mean, because in my mind, there's a lot of consequences to kind of I don't want to call it lazy, but just not taking the right approach, you know. So I mean, everybody's got resource, you know, constraints and whatnot, but you know, what are the consequences of those actions?
Well, your audience may be watching Dave Chappelle stand up on your sales pages. Because that's the consequence, or wheels of the bus. Because you can no longer turn off suggested videos in YouTube. And if you're using YouTube Player on your sales pages, and you notice you get some super long visits, it's because Dave Chappelle is hilarious and they're watching something else. So that's an example of a consequence. Yeah.
They've moved on in the embedded player past their content, right?
They're overdue.
Yeah, they're hanging out. They're watching all kinds of stuff, you know. So yeah, the consequence could be lower conversions, or you just don't look as polished. The consequence of social videos without captions would be lower traffic. The consequence of, I mean, if you do a bad job on your content marketing videos, it would be like you failed to make compelling YouTube custom thumbnails, which make a big difference. A great YouTube custom thumbnail includes both a face and a headline. Just watch how the pro YouTubers do it. That face should be close up enough. Here's a fun tip. You should be able to see the whites of the eyes of the person in the face of the YouTube thumbnail. That's much more likely to show emotion. And that's really what you're trying to do. It's impact, visual prominence, and emotion. So don't shoot till you can see the whites of their eyes. That sounds like a war movie.
So it's taken a whole new meaning to the whites of the eyes, right? With video.
Yeah. It's a YouTube tip now. It's not about muskets and, you know, the Revolutionary War or something.
Overall, it's really just kind of wasting your resources. If you're not kind of creating the correct video in the correct format, using the correct tactics in the correct channel, you know, you're really just wasting your time. It's really kind of a waste of time, and hopefully a learning experience. Though that is the hope. But
yep, Nicolette, that's exactly right. That's basically the risk of everything, is that you just wasted time. I mean, that's the problem with digital, is there's too many things you can do. There's too many ways to do each thing. And it's very likely people build content programs where huge amounts of effort go into things that get no result at all. Didn't get good advice up front, or if you're not measuring and iterating. But yeah, totally. We're losing time. Yep.
We have that conversation all the time with clients where we're saying, you know, hey, you create the greatest piece of content in the world, but if you can't get it read, you know, or you can't get it watched, what's the purpose of that? You know, and it's a recurring theme with, you know, big companies as well as small companies.
Well, there's where social media videos, I mean, if I pulled up LinkedIn and I showed you my stream, more than half of the posts in my stream are videos. which just shows you how LinkedIn and social networks are just heavily weighting video as a factor in how many people to show something to. So we live in a golden era for social videos. If you worked hard on a piece of content, you should definitely take a half hour to make a video with captions to promote it. You know, a lot of our efforts should go into content promotion. I've got, we could share it. I can share maybe in the show notes. There's like a playbook for these social media videos, and it's literally a single social media post. I can get 1,000 clicks from it, and you know, a dozen subscribers who land on those posts. So
yeah, if you want to share the playbook with us, we'd be happy to post it on the site and put the link in here.
Sure.
Everyone.
Yeah, it's always like this. That's 10 times the effort, right? If it takes, you know, 3 minutes to make a social media post, but 30 minutes to make a social media video post, every time when doing it well, anywhere where you're doing 10x effort, you should see 100x the results, which is why people like us work so much harder on certain things, because we, from experience, know that by putting a lot more time and effort into that thing, we're going to get exponentially better outcomes. So, you know, people who spend more time on their articles are more likely to report strong results. People who publish more frequently are more likely to report strong results. It's always that thing, right? It's like a small percentage of people are doing the really hard work, but getting far, far greater results.
Yeah. So I want to shift gears for one minute, Andy. So you talk about original research crushing other types of content out there. And, you know, we agree. And we've received a lot of pushback. So I'm sure that you've experienced this. There's a lot of pushback from smaller companies, especially, you know, that say, okay, that's great. Original research, we need it. We know how important it is, but we can't implement this into our content strategy. You know, we've got resource constraints, we've got tool constraints, we've got budget constraints, you know. So what, you know, are there any, let's say, hacks when it comes to putting together original research-based content for companies that just don't think that they have the means?
Great question, because it's a classic example of where way more effort can get unbelievably better results. Some of the original research I've done was actually not much more effort. I'll give you a few examples that might trigger some ideas and sort of, it's mostly about the idea. So a survey takes a ton of effort. I'm doing a survey now. It's really, really hard to get 1,000 people to take a survey. But if you start from this perspective, what do people in our industry often say but don't support? One example I found is like, oh, you know, websites need to be redesigned every few years. Really? How often? Is it every few years? How many years? So with that idea, so my question, it's a missing statistic in my industry. What is the frequently asserted but rarely supported thing? Websites must be redesigned every so often. Okay, I go to alexa.com, which has a list of every category of website, download a list of 50 marketing websites, give it to a virtual assistant who went to the Wayback Machine and looked up every one of these websites to see at what interval did they redesign. But she gave me back the spreadsheet. I averaged the interval for redesigns and found the answer is every 2 years and 7 months. The top 50 marketing websites redesign every 2 years and 7 months on average. That was maybe only a few $100s of virtual assistant hours and actually less time than it takes me to write a typical article about marketing videos. And the data is so valuable that Wikipedia spontaneously found it and linked to it, some Wikipedia editor. I mean, it's used, I know that data is used by my competitors in their sales pitches, which is fine. It's attracted it's attracted like 150 links or something. So it's not, so although it might take time, especially outreach can take time, deep analysis can take time. Mostly it's about the idea that can lead to efficient research by you getting observational data, go to the Wayback Machine, or sometimes by aggregating other data sources. Here's another example. How much money do marketers make? I have no idea. I'm not relevant on that topic. But every year and a half, I publish this article that says how much money marketers make. And all I do is go to payscale.com and glassdoor.com and find the medians, and they have tens of thousands of data points. Find the medians for these 7 different job descriptions. So every 18 months I publish this survey that shows data from these 2 other sources And it's a credible piece of content because it averages two big sources of data, not very time consuming to make, ranks like a champion for marketing salaries and descriptions. And both of those two examples were no longer than writing a typical article for me. I can give you others too.
No, that's really eye-opening.
Right. So really what you're saying is be innovative and creative, right? Or answer questions that are really common in there. It's not so much that you need to spend, a whole bunch of money on that market research, or, you got to go out and query 5 million people to get the data to know what marketers make, right? You're using other resources and being creative about the strategy in there to create content that is not out there or other people are really looking for.
That's right. I mean, here's the one. I'm just brainstorming. A minute ago, I said that a bunch of videos, a bunch of the content in my social streams are videos. Well, let's say that I go do some hallway type research, and the next 10 people that walk by, I ask them to pull up LinkedIn, and I scroll through their LinkedIn post to see what percentage of those posts are videos. It's not going to be like strong, like authoritative data because there's lots of variables anyway. But by the end of the day, I might be able to say, despite the fact this small data set, 85% of posts at the top of LinkedIn streams are videos. I mean, it's observational data isn't that hard to get. It's already out there. So a lot of stuff is just simply public, So
it's really just a misconception and the lack of, like you said, Bryan, creativity. The original research is going to be the most daunting and time-consuming task. We can't do it, but that's false. That's really what we're saying then.
Well, yeah, especially if you. Sorry, Andy. After you.
It's true. It's not accurate that original research necessarily takes more time. Good content takes time, but doing a piece of original research, if done creatively, might not take much more time than a typical article. A lot of people just have data sitting around. I mean, there's people who have. It's like I get website RFPs. I've saved over the years probably 50 website RFPs. What percentage of RFPs are really about the website, and what percentage are this fluffy background knowledge about the company? If I emailed these RFPs to a VA, I could come back and next week I'd have a pie chart in my inbox showing what percentage of RFPs are about what topic. The data's on my lap. It's on my desktop. It's sitting right here. So anyway, I think it's a lack of imagination that leads people to think that research is hard. Anything. I think most things are easy if you have a creative approach.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%. I think too, sometimes with especially smaller companies, I don't want to say because they haven't done it, they're more afraid of it. They're more afraid of the unknown versus taking that creative approach and diving in and going, okay, what can I really do with the resources, I have, or the data I have like on hand, as you said. And I think that's really where you start looking at how analytics starts shifting into sort of making meaning out of everything. Because it's not just sometimes about the numbers, it's how you're analyzing it, like what we're talking about, how you're analyzing it and bringing meaning to that information itself, which we call meaning making all the time. That's how we refer to it.
Yeah, that's the fun part. If you like this, you love that part, right?
Exactly.
The analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually that reminds us of, something you talk about, which is analytics, right? Analytics should be used for analysis, not just reporting. And, that does kind of, Bryan, as you're talking about meaning making, it reminds us of meaning making. We were chatting about this because, we talk about going beyond pure SEO and we kind of we bolt on this human layer when we, analyze any keywords and we talk to clients about content and audience behavior intent. And, so for you, why do you think that marketers are really relying on that pure data versus, kind of going beyond? Is it just lack of knowledge? Maybe they just don't know, they don't understand.
I think that people are tasked with reporting sometimes and like, oh, it's my job to report on this. Or their job is to do analytics. And so they believe that if they go to analytics and just pull some reports that they're doing a good job. I think it's
check the box, done.
Right. They're checking the box. Yeah. I made some reports. In fact, I think that reports themselves, I'm going to just come out strong here and not pull back. Reports do not affect your marketing. A report does not affect your marketing. It affects nothing. Actions affect marketing. And analysis will lead you to better actions. The goal is to form a hypothesis, go get data that rejects or confirms your hypothesis, and then take an action based on insight. Then go measure the impact. So you're using analytics twice. One is to help support or reject your possible approach. And another is then to measure the impact of the action you took. That is how to do, that's digital marketing. If you were just running reports, so one way to think of it this way, I think there's a clue. In analytics, this is silly, but in analytics is a line between the navigation on the left and the reports on the right. If you're only clicking on the left side of that line to look at aggregate data for the main reports, you're very unlikely to find any insights. If you're on the right, if you're clicking on the right, literally clicking your mouse on the right side of that line to do filters and advanced filters and secondary dimensions and create segments, you know, and drill down and sort and change views, you're very likely to find insights and to answer questions. So it is, if you're using analytics to answer questions, confirm hypotheses, check the impact of something, you are doing analysis and you are a digital marketer. If you're just doing analytics, just looking at reports without taking any action or just making a spreadsheet or, you know, forwarding that along to someone's boss or a client, that is not, that is, you're not thinking, you're not applying knowledge.
Doing data entry. I mean, that's really what that is in a sense, right?
Another clue, if you're, write the executive summary. If you are writing something in English using your keyboard, you're more likely doing analysis. If you're just looking at charts, charts are just reports, but writing is, you know, you tell a story with that data. And now you're doing analysis and digital marketing.
You're
making meaning. Exactly. Perfect. How perfect. Exactly right.
And I think because I think a lot of companies, you know, really cut it short, because when they see the reports, you know, instead of taking that action, they get really discouraged. Well, this doesn't work. You know, I'm just going to, you know, use the example of content marketing. Well, you know, this doesn't work. We can't do this anymore. We're not going to write any more content. You know, this is ineffective. You know?
And I think that goes back to sort of what Andy was talking about earlier, and what we always talk about. It's don't be afraid to test things. You know, it's go out. You're creating something. Does it work? How did it work? Analyze it, and then correct it, fix it, make it better, or maybe stop it if it just doesn't work at all, and you've tried multiple times.
Yep, that's how you get smarter. If you're not doing that, there's a few types of marketers who struggle with this. One is the abdicator, to which I say, you know, do you drive a car? Yes. Who needs the dashboard on your car? Well, I do. I'm the driver. Of course, right? You couldn't outsource the dashboard on your car, but the psychology of analytics for many people is that of abdication. They just want someone else to look at it. Oh, we don't do analytics. They do it over there. All I do is content or social or email. How could you possibly do your job without that data? So
exactly,
that's one of the personality types, is that they people who don't think that it's their job to do analytics. It's the job of the marketer to get the data, to check the results, to confirm the hypothesis. The person who takes the action needs the data to know what action to take.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. And I think a lot of folks, they become, as I said, discouraged. And you know, in your book, Content Chemistry, you talk about something that's very well known, especially to Bryan. Like, content marketing is a slow process, you know, but we are part of a society that wants things now, yesterday. So we want to know that it's working and it's working right now. So here's a question: is there ever a time that you say, "Hey, go do this if you want some immediate results"? You know, from some sort of content marketing effort. You know, aside from traffic, which we know you can go, you know, buy some traffic, or you know, that's I think a lazy one.
What are the most predictable wins?
Yeah,
it's I have my personal go-tos and my own biases. I think that for example, if you want to promote a video, go find your top trafficked page. It's usually a page that ranks for something, and make a video version of that and put that at the top of that page. And that video is going to have huge visibility. So if you know where your best, everything on digital is like either cheese or a mousetrap. Once you know what your best cheese is, you know exactly where to put new assets or where to invest time. Or it's much harder to find your best mousetraps in digital. There is a way to find the articles that are most likely to get visitors to subscribe. And if you can find those and build calls to action from your best cheese to those top mousetraps, that's a reliable win. But it's hard to explain to people. It takes analysis to do that, but what is the conversion rate from visitor to subscriber from each article? To do that, I use like Google Sheets integration. It's kind of fancy. Finding your almost high ranking articles and improving them is a reliable win. So is your, go in Google Analytics acquisition search console, you can find all the phrases for which you rank high on page 2. Right. And when you improve those pages, you're more like, it's very easy to move up a little bit. And when you move from page 2 to page 1, there's almost anyone's analytics account, I can get them more traffic in like 10 minutes. Just find the pages that need to be improved and look at the page and find obvious improvements. I think fixing major flaws is an easy fix. A lot of people, if anyone has a home as their homepage title tag, fixing that will immediately improve their SEO. There's people who haven't finished claiming their Google My Business accounts, and their knowledge panel just says, do you own this business? I mean, click on that and claim your knowledge panel. So there's, adding calls to action to the bottom of every sales page, adding multiple images, adding more images and charts to each article, removing homepage carousels because they suck, making sure making sure every contact form has a thank you page and setting up goals in analytics. Make sure every page has a face. Put a human on every page. Change your social media profiles from profile pictures from icons to human faces. Oh, here's a really fast win. This is just humanizing your website. Make your email sender name a human's name instead of the business name. It reliably 15, 20, 25% increase in open rates. Never send an email. Make sure your email program, the sender name is a human, Andy from Horbet Media. It's not just the brand. That it's much harder to unsubscribe from or delete an email if it has a human's name on it. And that takes 10 seconds. There's a million little low hanging fruit, like easy wins. And, once you exhaust all those, like pro marketers will have already done those things, then it gets more interesting, more challenging.
Yeah, and so many things with it. Like you're saying, there's a whole bunch of drops that you could make the bucket out of, right? You could fill the bucket with a whole bunch of those little drops at the beginning, especially. It becomes very easy to collect all that. So.
Yeah, it's fun too. I mean, to see the results. When you meet people, depending on where they are on that kind of marketing maturity curve, you can make big differences for certain brands very quickly. And that's really rewarding. But then, when I meet guys like you or you go to conferences where there's like super advanced marketers, then it's fun it's also fun then to sit down and look closely at it and, come up with new ideas and, just see what they've been trying to do or what they're testing or what's worked, because everyone has their own kind of biases and preferences. So sitting down with people, it's always fun.
Yeah, and it's also great, like brainstorming and having discussions, with other people like ourselves, where you're really pushing the envelope with each other and giving each other inspiration and what to think about and how do we evolve things for everyone in the industry, So.
Yeah, and when you exhaust all the ideas that you get from analytics, we have to remember that analytics is always just historic data, and it's always just showing performance of what's been tried. So then to just get weird and do weird stuff and try to inject chaos into our data,
that's
like,
what I was going to say, actually. Yeah. We do a lot of random things, where, Brian, what do you call us, a bunch of loose cannons? What are we lying?
Yeah. Right. We always refer to our company as it's a pirate ship with a whole bunch of lions on it and a whole bunch of loose cannons flying around, because we like trying things and experimenting to find new things that work, because that helps all of us. So,
and there's always going to be people who don't, particularly favor that approach. There's going to be the people who want to stay inside the box, and then there's going to be people you really jive with when you try new and weird crap,
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it needs it. Marketing needs that. And a lot of people get into marketing because they want to be creative. And then, that's actually another personality type that doesn't like analytics. Do you know Jay Acunzo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. His podcast, Unthinkable, or his book, he makes this case like, I don't want to ever do anything that's repeatable. Like, he wants to be like a 10x thinker and do crazy things, and fun things and outside the box thinking. There's a place for that. Then there's also a place for the incremental or optimizer, the 10% marketer. So,
yep.
And the best marketers can shift gears. I'm usually a 10% marketer trying to get a reliably better result. And over time, it's, huge email list and tons of search rankings and millions of leads and visitors. But there's also a place for the 10X marketer and the brainstorm and the loose cannon. I like that you guys said that about you. I think there's it's motivating to me to meet people who want to try totally different things. It's that thinking that really moves the industry forward.
And speaking of the industry, actually, next week you will be at Content Marketing World, right? And you will be tying in some of the things that we talked about today, original research and analytics. So do you want to give us a sneak peek and tell us what you'll be discussing?
Sure. So I've been a speaker there every year for I think 6 or 7 years. They sometimes ask me to do the workshop on SEO, which I love. And sometimes they ask me to do the workshop on analytics, which I love. So I'm one of the teachers doing the analytics workshop this year. And also the session they asked me to do is also analytics related. So I'm doing a bunch of GA stuff, Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager. I am showing how to, speaking of videos, one of the things I'm going to show is how to measure the performance of videos, embedded YouTube videos. In 5 minutes, or less, you can set up Google Tag Manager to track as events the plays and pauses and scans on YouTube videos embedded into websites. Once that event is in place, you can create a simple segment. These things sound fancy. I could share the step-by-step process, but once that's in place, you can create a segment to see people who do watch videos and those that don't. And now you can look at all of your analytics, all of your traffic on all of your pages, or just pick one page, and you can see the difference between people who do and don't watch videos and measure the effectiveness. So in one example I'm showing, page without video, added video to the page. What happened? Time on page, for people who watched the video, time on page went up by 2.5x. Bounce rate went down. No impact on the conversion rate from visitor to subscriber, and that will be useful to some people to go set that up and track video views on their websites. If I had to justify expense to a boss or to a client, I could say, well, here's the direct output from that effort. This is why I need a video budget. But
exactly.
Yeah.
Some ammunition.
Yeah. But even without that, what I hope people take away is that it is all answerable. All those questions can be answered. And if you take an action and hopefully in advance align a KPI with that action, you can measure the impact of almost everything that you do in digital, which should hopefully to people feel empowering. So that's part of what I'm teaching next week.
And that kind of ties. We just spoke to your friend Michael Brenner earlier today.
Great guy, super smart. Yeah.
It kind of ties into measuring and ROI. Actually, he mentioned us. We were talking about being seen and recognized, in terms of keywords and content. And he said you could talk all day about that. So.
Yeah, he's like, I know you guys are speaking to Andy. He's like, he'll tell you all about that.
Yeah, I love search. I don't really have a bias toward topics, but there's people who just want to talk to me all day about SEO and keyword research and semantic SEO. And click-through rates and the future of, trends. But I love just as much talking about the more human. I think that's the best marketers are obsessed both with something like a Google algorithm or a social algorithm and human psychology. What is the information you need to this person? What didn't I give them? What's going to catch their attention? What words might trigger them? How affected is this person by this type of emotional language here? Is this decision-making process partly about fear? Do I need to tell them what they'll miss or risk or lose? Or is it driven by visuals and an aspiration? And will, there's a true story in the life to every visitor of every web page. And to think about that person and to empathize with them and know that my job is to meet, solve for X, meet their information needs. That is, I love ranking in Google, but it's even more fun to know that you got this person, like you connected with that visitor from a distance. It's so cool.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the things we all, as what we do, we all enjoy that, like really that piece of the human aspect of what we do and helping someone out or, however it works. So. Yeah,
that's what we're here. That's what we're supposed to be doing is to help the person. Just because it's digital doesn't mean that they're not real people. It's another problem with analytics is that everyone just looks like a number.
Right.
But, if you use a tool like Hotjar to watch screen recordings, you can see people's frustrations, and it kind of reminds you that these are all people on this website. It bothers me sometimes when I meet people who say, "Oh, I'm looking at the scroll tracking, and only 5% of people make it this far down the page." Okay, over the lifespan of that page, that's going to be like 10,000 people. Why do you not care about 10,000 people? Or, oh, visually impaired, only 1% of visitors have any kind of visual or mobility impairment. There's lots of people like that. If you care about people, you care about them. Like, it's a human right. Access to information is a human right. These are
right,
humans.
Exactly. Don't eliminate them. It's so funny because one of the things we talk about all the time is, especially with marketers, they look at the analytics and they're not thinking about the intent. Like, what was that user's intent? Like whether, they were trying to find out something or get educated or find a tool or, just whatever the solution is, right? And their intent, and they're looking at, oh, they did X, they may have downloaded, they may have looked at some type of page where it was this type of asset, like a white paper, but they're not looking, were they really searching for a white paper? Right. Or did you just happen to rank highly on the white paper compared to the keyword, and it really had nothing to do with their actual intent of why they came in? So there's this other layer that goes in between what's actually happening on the page, like you're talking about, and what that intent was from the user, and are you delivering that accurately to them, and how can you improve that for them in order to rank higher? So.
And we do all of that manual, a human that has to do that. There's no other way to kind of determine. I remember we were working on a project, and I remember thinking, I was looking through a couple of rows of the data, and I remember thinking to myself, this person must have been so pissed off when they got to this, and I looked at where they actually ended up, and I looked at what they were looking for, and I was like, wow, I would have been pissed. They're like, oh, crap, I got to go back now, that experience.
Yeah, people are, a highly motivated visitor for an important conversion or, problem in their life. They will work very hard. We will, it's not just them, it's us, but we all work very hard to overcome friction on bad websites or to find information that's missing. There's a clue I found recently. This is kind of, not all websites have this opportunity, but any website that has an FAQ page, if you look at the navigation summary for that page, you can see from what pages people came from to get to the FAQ page, which is usually insight into what the information gaps are on those pages. Why would someone leave a page and go to the FAQ page?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. The site search report is similar. Site search, if you add starting page as a secondary dimension to your site search report, it shows you from what pages people started searching. And it's more of this kind of data-driven empathy. There are not tons of them, but there are a few places where you can use the analytics to try to quickly find information gaps in content. It's when possible, that sometimes shows you right away. Like I saw this on a client site. It was there was one page where everyone was left the page to search for the words opt out. It was like this cancel page. It's like this
Man.
Yeah, there was.
Well, there you go.
Yep. They didn't want to, I mean, they were fine with the friction. The client wasn't hoping everyone would opt out, but.
Yeah, I mean, what were they sending? Right? That was there.
It was a notification that you were being automatically enrolled into a new feature.
Yeah. There you go.
And everyone who landed on that page searched for opt out. Yeah, it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
The page just didn't use those words. It was in the page, but it wasn't called that. So
right.
It was a naming problem. It was a labeling issue.
Right. It was like, maybe you want to stay, or
yeah, Are you sure? Yeah.
Wait, right. Yeah, right.
Last chance.
And they weren't sure if they would click that, so they were like, "Where's the opt out?" You know. Yeah, that's funny.
I've seen that. Have you ever tried? I used to be a member of Audible. If you ever try to unsubscribe from Audible, it is a work of art, that unsubscribe process. You go through like I took screenshots. It's like an 8-step process where you fill out this it's like a survey of why you're canceling, and then they give you a special offer. Like, are you sure? Do you want to? It's like canceling cable on the phone. Like, well, we got a better offer for you.
Yeah. Sirius XM too. If you ever tried to cancel Sirius, you could get it down to like 30 cents for for the next 7 years of your life if you want. You're just like nope, keep going.
That's a pro tip.
I'm really gonna cancel this time.
Yeah, I am really gonna cancel. I don't care.
Yeah, it's the long goodbye. Exactly.
I want to quit the gym. Have you seen Friends?
It's like the girlfriend who tried to break up with me in college. I just did not make that easy. Yeah, hanging on like my, got my fingers in the door. She's trying to close. Like, really? What?
It's like this. Well, I mean, what does it say for those companies? It's like the smell of desperation, right? Like they make it that hard.
If you're gonna make it that, I bet it works though. They would have data on that. So hypothesis. Oh, if we add friction,
I agree.
Yeah. If you take the digital angle on that one, right, and do the analysis, which step in our 11-step opt-out cancel the service process is the most effective at getting the visitor to abandon the process? What if we reordered the steps? What if we changed the language in the steps? What if we changed the offer? But
how well does opt-out harassment work? That's my
but then but I would not add friction to the find the opt-out button. Because you need to honor the intent. First, you have to help.
Exactly.
Because that's just frustration. That's not. So, if they want it, let them get there at least.
I agree. Well, Andy, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. It was a pleasure.
This was fun.
I had fun.
I'm gonna go sign up for and then cancel Sirius XM.
And save yourself some money.
The insider tip. Go for it.
I know, 30 cents for 5 years. That sounds great.
Well, yeah, that was
listen, he's not far off. I did it myself. I wasn't that yet.
That's a good takeaway.
I literally think it was somewhere around like 1999 or something for like 6 months or a year. It was like crazy. Wow. I was like, okay.
I believe it.
They made it hard for me to say no, is what it came down to. But listen, have a great day, and have fun at Content Marketing World next week.
And get some sleep.
Will do. I'll do my best. All of us. This was a blast. Thanks, guys. So much fun.
All right. Thank you, Andy.
Take care.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.